Phase Hero episode 34 starts right now. Welcome to the show. I am Brandon Davis, joined today by Jenna Anderson.
Hey, everybody.
Aaron Perrine.
What's going on, everybody?
Jamie Jurek.
Greetings from my mom's house.
Greetings from my... Sometimes I feel like I live in my mom's house, too. Well, you don't live with your mom, but... yeah. Anyway, hi, welcome to the show. We got a lot to talk about today. We're going to start with Captain America 4 stuff, box office, no spoilers or anything. We will have a little bit of a debate, but we'll keep it spoiler free. We're going to talk about some Daredevil Born Again stuff making the news. I'm headed to New York this weekend. I've seen a couple episodes. Can't say more than that. Headed to New York. Just going to Hell's Kitchen just for the fun of it. No other reason. She-Hulk is in the news for this week. I know Jenna's excited about this one. We're going to talk about DC because we haven't really been talking about DC. So let's talk about that. And then we got, the Odyssey, Mickey 17, and a movie trailer I'm excited to talk about. And then at the end of the show, Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man dropped its 2-episode finale today. That show is phenomenal, fantastic, amazing, as Spider-Man should be. And we're going to talk about that in spoilery detail. Not going to spend too much of the show on it, but we will save that for the end of the episode. But yeah. Jenna, what are you most looking forward to on today's show? I know
the DC chatter, the She-Hulk chatter, this is a chunky show. I'm also excited to talk about the Odyssey because I feel like we haven't really properly talked about it on the show, and there's so much that I'm excited about with that.
I saw Jamie's wheels start turning.
I'm excited to talk about Spider-Man. People died. We had people special guests on the show. I have yet to get to talk about this freaking show. I'm so excited that my time has come.
It's time. Are you all caught up now?
I am all caught up, baby. I'm ready.
Oh. Okay. All right. Here we go. Let's officially start the show with our topics. First of all, Captain America: Brave New World. Let's start there. I feel like most of our comment section saw this movie. I want to thank everybody for listening to the interviews. Captain America 4 director Julius Ona, Carl Lumbly, absolute legend. Those interviews were 2 interviews that were awesome for me to host. I really appreciate everybody who's hundreds of thousands of views and listens across platforms. Like if you count views on Twitter, TikTok, YouTube, audio downloads, I mean, it might be over 1 million between those 2 episodes. So thank you so much for everybody who supported that. That helps, get the next thing booked and keep it going. And also, while on the thank you train, though, thank you for ordering the merch. We are just a few orders short of 400 orders on Phase Hero merch. Y'all are crazy. Thank you. All right. Captain America 4, box office. It was a successful opening weekend. It made $192 million globally. It has now made over $100 million domestically. Over the weekend, 92 million of those 192 million were in the United States. The other 100 million was globally. Now it has crossed 200 million worldwide. So it was reported to have a $180 million budget. That doesn't include marketing. That's the reported budget. I know there's so much speculation about this movie and the reshoots and the budget and everything, but not a bad opening weekend by any stretch. For comparisons, these are just recent movies and the movies I could find, because finding box office numbers for opening weekends for films that came out years ago is harder than I thought it would be. But Ant-Man and the Wasp made $75 million domestically and $161 million worldwide in its opening weekend. Quantumania more recently, $105 million domestic, $241 global. So that's ahead of Cap. The rest of these are ahead of Cap 4. Guardians 3, $118 domestic, $289 global total. Wakanda Forever, $181 domestic, $331 million worldwide. And Deadpool and Wolverine, obviously, $444 million worldwide opening weekend. That's an exception. That's one of those event movies. And Kraven the Hunter made 55 cents worldwide. So it definitely beat that. What do we make of these box office numbers? Anything we want to say about the state of Marvel, Cap 4 thoughts, anything like that?
I'm so relieved. Like, truly. I'll be honest, I'm sad I missed our episode. I just want to say, when I came out of that movie, I was like, it's fine. But the more I think about it, the less I like it, truly. I felt like it wasn't a smart movie. And the more I marinate on it, the more I'm like, dang, it's a bottom 5 for me. But that being said, I'm so glad audiences turned up for it. I'm so happy because it proves that everyone's here for Mackie as Cap. And that's all I care about, truly. So seeing these numbers was like, whoo, big old sigh of relief. I'm very pleased. And I'm so glad you got to chat with Carl, because for me, Carl was the best part of the movie. MVP 100%. So yeah, I'm relieved a lot by these numbers.
I agree. Like I outlined some of my flaws with the movie on our episode and stuff, but I am just so glad that people are going out and people are seeing it and people are like enjoying the theatrical experience. Like this is the first big blockbuster of the year, ostensibly. So I was hoping that it would make money and would be able to reflect that like audiences want to see Mackie as Cap, like they want to see all of these things. And I'm glad that that is the case, because otherwise I feel like the discourse would have been absolutely insufferable.
Yeah, the movie was so. I liked it. Like, it's not amazing. It's not terrible. I just thought it was fine. I think, if I gave it a 6.9, that may have more accurately reflected it, because people see a 7 and they're like, oh, he really, really liked it. It's like, no, I just thought it was good. It was fine. Like, I liked it. It's not amazing. I don't really see rewatch value in it. So by Jamie's barometer, the rewatch value is not tremendous, but it's good. Like, it's good. To me, the most important thing it needed to do was make Sam Wilson just as interesting as can be, and frame him character-wise, not superpower-wise, which obviously that would help. That'll lead to that's our next discussion. But into being a leader in the Avengers. And it did that. It made me believe in Sam as a character more than ever before. So, I don't know. The movie's fine. But I agree. Carl Lumbly also was super duper the heart of the film. Aaron, what are you thinking?
It's just interesting that, like, I don't know, like somewhere in the last 7 years, like every movie had to be like the greatest movie you've ever seen or else whatever. And that's silly, because that's not how anything works. Like, we had 1 year where everything made $1 billion. It raised the Overton window of all of the criticism around this stuff. And we all lost our minds. And it was a 1 year aberration. That's what it has turned out to be. The 2019 was a different time in so many different ways. So I don't know. I'm happy that people like it. Most people I talked to have liked it. My nephew was like a little like iffy on it, which is funny because that's the Naruto fan. And I'm like, he solved the problem the way that you're used to. What are you complaining about? And then he had to laugh at himself because there's a lot of motivational speeches to get villains up out of here in that anime. I really am interested in the idea. I think the funniest part of the discourse, which no one has written, which is funny because it would take you to be smart and try to take you out of the discourse. The issue, I think, or the funny thing about these movies is, unless you put Iron Man and other Avengers in it, these Captain America movies don't make the kind of money that people are forecasting for Marvel event movies. That's the real story to me.
Let's see something. Captain America, the Winter Soldier, opening weekend box office. What do we got? Let's see what this comes out to. Captain America, the Winter Soldier, 2014. And this is, 2 years after the first Avengers movie. Iron Man 3 just pretty much crushed it. The Avengers, made Marvel feel like a true event. Box Office Mojo says domestic opening, $95 million. Cap 4, 92. So it's pretty interesting right there. It's a very good comparison. I think the big determiner for Brave New World is going to be the legs. I think there's so much conversation about it that it could be beneficial for week 2. I think there's so much negativity around it in a lot of the discourse that could hurt it. But I don't know.
I mean, even though I didn't really like it, I'm gonna go see it again. I've never not seen a Marvel movie twice in theaters since in the last 8 years. So like, they're gonna get my money one more time.
And a fair point here from Stamina MC over there in London, not adjusted for inflation. Yes, 10 years of inflation, that would probably put Winter Soldier over 100 million pretty handily. And there was one more comment I wanted to comment from earlier I saw.
I want to shout out Misha's comment, not just for only that she is complimenting the Phase Hero hoodie's comfort, but if you look closely, she's wearing it in her profile picture. Look at that.
Oh, wow. On the YouTube channel. Let's go, Misha. Wait, there was, let's see. Cap. Oh, I like this comment, honestly. Scott Autry. Scott, you're a legend. We love you, by the way. Cap 4 is a better final episode of Falcon and Winter Soldier than Doctor Strange was for WandaVision. MCU is still pioneering how to integrate the shows and the movies. I'll say I rewatched all of the Falcon and the Winter Soldier before Cap 4. I'm glad I did. I still don't feel like the Disney Plus shows have been a super integral part to the movies yet.
I think that's part of the problem. I think that part of the reason why this movie didn't feel smart to me is because they were holding our hands along the way. Like, well, you might not have watched Falcon and the Winter Soldier. And a lot of it felt like a retread. And I want to say, I also rewatched Falcon and the Winter Soldier and I loved it. it really shot up for me on my ranking. I think it was a really good rewatch, and like we talked about a couple weeks ago, it really does have the political message there is strong, and I kind of forgot how good it is.
Yeah, it's a pretty solid show. All right, so let's have a debate about Sam Wilson real quick. Try to keep this spoiler free, but should Sam Wilson take the super soldier serum? Comment section, light it up. I know you're all going to have thoughts. I'll go first if you want me to, but if anybody wants to answer the question, go ahead.
I'll go first. No, the answer is no.
Why?
Isn't that what Falcon the Winter Soldier was kind of about? I mean, I like truly, it's about that. It's more than just strength. It's about heart. It's about and he has capabilities. He was a superhero before he took the shield. He had that ability, and I think that's literally what that show is about. Like the reason why Walker biffed it was because like he took the serum and screwed everything up. I think I am a staunch no on this question.
I agree. And I also think like laterally looking into the comics and when Sam became Cap in the comics, it was built on decades of him being Falcon and being a valiant hero in his own right and just not needing extra superpowers to necessarily get there. So I'm in complete agreement with Jamie.
B, you want to go before B, or you want to go?
You know what?
Extra
I'm team take the damn serum. I'm going to be honest with you. I know. But like to me, there's not enough of a negative side effect portrayed about the serum in the MCU to have a character whose character is so pure. And that's what Brave New World established. Like, I don't see what it's not like steroids where it's like, you know what, you're going to turn into a rage monster. Parts of your body are going to start to fail. I feel like we've seen crappy people have their crappier traits exploited, like John Walker. But you now see Isaiah Bradley, Steve Rogers, Bucky Barnes, people who are good, if they're not brainwashed, just become super soldiers. I don't think he needs it, but I don't know. I think he should. Why not?
I think it's funny because if you don't think about how these topics emerge on social media, you kind of lose the plot, and that paying attention to how they interplay with each other is interesting. I view this entire conversation that sprung up over the weekend as an outgrowth of what's this guy's name? Is Vince Gilligan from Breaking Bad, the writer, talking about how I feel bad about making Walter White y'all personality. Maybe we shouldn't do that. The way that Sam is written and Steve is written feels like the kind of answer to the question of how do you make good guys not be like just boring and cookie cutter. Also see Superman 2020-25. I think that will fulfill that itch for one Mr. Gillian later this year. But I feel like that his central goodness and humanity not being lost with just, oh, he's like another strong guy. I mean, Yelena's literally, you're strong and have a shield and punch and shoot things too, buddy. Like, okay, join the club. They need like a Joe Russo-led support group of people who don't have any other powers besides being strong and throwing shields and punching people. So I don't know. I knew this was going to be like a problem, but I don't think it's a real problem with Sam as a character as relates to the film. I think it's how's this dude gonna fight this Hulk or any of this other stuff that's coming? And I guess that's part of the fun, right?
Yeah, I mean, well, here's the thing. Listen, I saw the comparison online where we saw Tony Stark take a punch from Thanos, and nobody questioned about the super soldier serum, not being in Tony. That's not the debate I'm making. I'm just making the debate of why the hell not? Like, why not? Like, I don't see a negative enough side effect for this guy. And also, come on, when Isaiah jumped out the window and Sam was running down the stairs, I laughed. I LOL'd right there in the theater. And I thought that was supposed to be funny. I thought we were supposed to find that funny. But, a super soldier makes for better action scenes and just, I don't see a reason not to. Like, this is somebody who liked the movie, and I understand the sort of, we're keeping him pure. But I don't see it in-universe reason not to have to run down the stairs.
It changes the meaning of what he represents as a superhero, because like the whole point is that he is an aspirational thing that any kid who sees themselves in Sam Wilson can like feasibly imagine themselves becoming Captain America in that same sort of way. They don't need some extra magical serum to get them to that point.
Yeah,
It's exactly
I mean,
what
I
I
get
would
all that.
expect a Green Arrow fan to say. Outside
I also like Roscoe in the chat pointed out there's always the discourse about like certain MCU characters are too overpowered, and does this make them less relatable, or like does it kind of add weird power scaling when we get into fights with certain characters? And so I think having Sam just be a guy who can hold his own in that kind of fight makes it so much more interesting than if he also had the superpowers along with everybody else.
I also I think that if they would have shown like Sam getting schooled on the Wakandan tech, if there was a scene in the lab in Wakanda and all that, it would have helped quiet the debate of how he's able to catch a flagpole and stuff like that. Like obviously, if you're an MCU fan, you know what just happened. You know the suit is giving him powers. That's why, giving the suit has its own powers, not giving him powers, but things he can use the same way Iron Man does. But I don't know. In universe, I just don't see a bold enough reason not to take it. We got a comment here. Alex999. Thank you so much for the super chat, my friend. Per usual, could not agree with Jamie more. Nothing will take me out of a film quicker than atrocious dialogue, and Brave New World had the worst. Def in the bottom 5 for me, but glad to see people show up for Sam. Hey, man. Jamie hated Cap 4 confirmed.
I did not hate it. I did not hate it. It's not the only one I hate with a capital H is Quantumania, and you all know that. I didn't hate it, but I didn't particularly like it. But hate, only one MCU title gets the hate marker from me. Let's make that clear.
That's fair. I'm just messing. We know you hate it. So comment section largely says no. I'm on the other side of the fence. I don't care that much, but I thought it'd be a fun conversation. I just don't see a reason not to. As somebody who's like professional wrestling, and the person who called me yesterday said the number one thing about working on a roster at this promotion for wrestling is like your appearance. I'm like, damn, I understand the temptation to try to do something that would enhance your performance, but I would never do it myself. So I get it. Like, I understand, Sam, but that's not because I don't want to look like that or not be strong. It's because I don't want the negative side effects. So I don't see the negative side effects. But I guess the negative side effect would be, well, you're less relatable as a superhero. I get it. Okay, fine. We can move on. To Daredevil.
Well, a friend of the show, Brad Winderbaum, spoke to Entertainment Weekly and has a lot of people talking. Considering bringing the Defenders back, he said, "I can't say much, but I'll tell you that it's so exciting to be able to play in that sandbox. Obviously, we don't have the unlimited storytelling resources like a comic book, where if you can draw it, you can do it. We're dealing with actors and time and the massive scale of production in order to build a cinematic universe, especially on television. But I can just say that all those variables are taken into account. It is certainly something that is creatively extremely exciting and that we are very much exploring. All I can hear is Christian Ritter is going to come back. Christian Ritter's going to come back. That's all I care about." And,
there was a picture of her like training in the gym on her like Instagram stories, and everyone was like, interesting. If Daredevil starts filming again pretty soon for season 2, that might mean more than we might think. But I'm glad to hear this. I'm glad that they're open to it. I'm surprised that that's where your brain went, Jamie, and not to Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. But I agree that
because they're talking about the Defenders, and I just don't want to do that to Brad. Poor Brad gets bombarded with S.H.I.E.L.D. all the time. I'm waiting for Brad to call me and tell me, Jamie, now's the time that we can talk about Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Brad, I'm ready. I'm willing. My phone is on.
I think one thing I like about Brad, other than he's just a cool dude, is that he seems to really be in touch with the audience. He knows, he listens. Like I've met Brad at events, and he'll ask me questions about what I thought, what I think people like. He's just he's pretty dedicated to having a finger on the pulse, and I think it in a lot of ways it's going to benefit Marvel TV. So I always appreciate that. Jamie, did you want to roll into this Charlie Cox quote here? Or do you want me to take that one?
Oh, I can take another quote.
Jamie's a big reader. Big reading voice.
Love a cold read. All right, so Charlie Cox spoke to GQ, said he was ready for Daredevil to meet the Avengers. He said, "I think it's more possible than it's ever been. Yeah, I would love to be in one of the Avengers films or another Spider-Man or something like that. For a couple of reasons. One, because over the years, I've become a geeky fan of the character, and I weirdly, for the character's sake, feel like it'd be really cool for him to get up that kind of upgrade. I mean, yeah, he's been popping up everywhere, right? Like he's in the Spider-Man cartoon. He was in She-Hulk and everything. Like he deserves. Give the people what they want. Everybody wants more Charlie Cox. Even as someone who's like meh on the Daredevil show, I still want to see more Charlie Cox.
I need it to happen purely because of the memes. Everyone, like, since Charlie got reintroduced, okay, he's clearly in the MCU. The memes of people being like, here's how he's gonna be in Doomsday or in Secret Wars, and he's just swinging his nunchucks trying to fight like an incursion. I want that to happen because I just want to see, even like the King Thanos theme park ride. He's in the art for that, and everyone's like, what is he going to do in the fight that's actually going to help? I want to see that because I think that would be a lot of fun.
I'm talking to Charlie on Sunday. I got to find a way to work in something about the Avengers, of course. I just don't know what it is because it's all been covered at some point. But like, bro, you're filming. Doomsday starts filming in like what, a month? Well, we'll talk about that in a second. But I don't know. I don't know what the question is, but there's obviously that's the headline. That's the thing I got to find a unique way in to ask a question about. But I think Daredevil meeting the Avengers would be. I mean, I've been waiting for it forever.
I think in a fan-focused like push towards doing what people online talk about, it's a slam dunk. It's as much of a slam dunk as bringing back the original six to me to have him involved. And if you can get Vincent in there too, fine. Yeah, do it. You know what I mean? I just, it's so interesting that like I wonder what the limits of like all this are. Just as like a curiosity, like to figure out, because everybody was like, oh my God, 60 people is too much to have in this movie. And then, but oh no. Matt's got to be in here though. He makes the cut. Like, no. Some of these other things, you're out here wilding, but Kingpin and Daredevil need to be in here, which it'll be interesting. I think that, that especially if this show is as popular as it seems like it is, it's wonder what you can do. What's that viral tweet, Jenna? When someone's not in your ear telling you something sucks, it's going to be massive.
I don't think he'll be in Doomsday, but I think he'll be in Secret Wars personally.
Mm-hmm.
I also I don't know who's going to be in Doomsday. There's no roster that really makes sense. That's one thing I wish Brave New World did was like at least show Sam being aware of who he can recruit to be in an Avengers roster. But we didn't get that, and we haven't got that at all in the multiverse saga, really, with the Avengers that are non-existent, basically. The release schedule, this is interesting. And I kind of hope it's true because I like, getting more than one episode in a day, but also releasing weekly, obviously. But we know there's a 2-episode premiere on March 4th. But then this rumor, I tried to track down the source of this rumor, but it's everywhere, and it made it to like Screen Rant. So if Screen Rant, if one of the bigger media outlets reports it, I tend to take it as like, okay, there's something here. March 11th, episode 3, March 18th, episode 4, but then on March 25th, episodes 5 and 6 together. I couldn't find the source of this, but it got a lot of traction online, and I just find that interesting. They're going to do a 2-episode release on March 25th. Makes me wonder why, but something to consider, something to have in mind.
Can you remind me how many total?
I think it's 9.
Yeah.
No longer 18.
It's 2 seasons of 9, seemingly. That seemingly is where we've landed on. It makes me curious thematically because even like rewatching Friendly Neighborhood in these chunks of episodes that they've released each week, it's really interesting to see how the story just kind of separates itself very naturally. So if they're pairing 5 and 6 together, then there has to be a very good narrative reason for it, or something where it's like, we know people want to immediately click on the next episode after 5. So that has me curious, and I hope it doesn't end up disappointing the fandom in the process.
Yeah, so season 2 is supposed to start real soon, filming. Avengers Doomsday is supposed to start filming in March. I just read on Screen Rant today that it's supposed to, they might be pushed back to April because the rumor is the script isn't finished. Also not sure where that source was coming from, but Doomsday starting filming soon. The original report on filming, which I believe came from Deadline, was that Doomsday starts filming in March, and then Secret Wars starts filming next May. And I thought this, and we talked about this already, but I didn't say this on the show because I forgot to say it. Doomsday starting filming Secret Wars starting filming after Doomsday releases makes me think maybe they want to see what works and doesn't work about Doomsday and adjust Secret Wars, because Secret Wars is scheduled for that 2027, less than a 1 year windowed from start of production if it's May of 26 to release in May of 27. Not a chance it meets that, in my opinion. But it also makes me go, maybe they're going to wait to see how Doomsday comes out and decide what they do with Secret Wars. I don't know if that's true, but it seems they're giving themselves the opportunity to do that. Am I tinfoil hatting a little too tight here?
No, I completely agree with you. Like, it's an interesting way to just kind of adapt. And like, given everything that's happened over the past couple of years, given like the Jonathan Majors situation and just all of these other things where they probably internally wished that they could have course corrected on something that they had filmed a year and a half, 2 years before. I get doing that. But I agree with you that, like, even if in the best case scenario, there is no way that they're making that release date. It's one thing to turn FF around in a year and have had all of the previs and have had everything ready to go for that movie. But this is the biggest movie that they are going to be doing. And just purely logistically and for everything, I don't see it meeting that release date if they start filming a year out.
And that's okay. Like,
Yeah.
This is how the MCU used to do things. It would let something release, see what worked and what didn't, have time to adjust, take characters, take storylines, expand on them, bake them in, take them out, whatever. And that to me, you know what? Better to finish it all up, see what worked, see what didn't, and then start. Be like, we thought this was going to be a hit. This element was going to be really well received. It wasn't. Now we have to change it. But also, who knows? Maybe that is unrelated. But I couldn't help but notice. We got Hannah in the comments. Hannah Basso said, "I hope we get in these projects leading up to Doomsday, we see post-credit scenes of people being recruited, or at the start of it, we see Sam recruiting." Completely agree. We only have 2 more. So I don't think we're really going to see. I think Fantastic Four is really going to be the biggest lead-in. Obviously, Thunderbolts has a chance for that, but we'll see. All right, one more Daredevil update here. The world of those, I guess, Daredevil.
Technically, yeah. So Tatiana Maslany was asked if she would be willing to return for Daredevil, and she kind of had fun with her answer. She told Screen Rant, "Would I be born again? I mean, absolutely. He was so great. He was so fun, like a really fun person to play with. And I think what he did so well was take a character that exists in a different tone and totally adapt him for this new tone while still maintaining the integrity of the character, which is actually very funny then. To see him collide with this sort of goofier world, I agree. I have a lot of serious bones in my body. So I love it. It doesn't necessarily seem like she knows if she's coming back, but I feel like it would be a slam dunk if she were to show up in season 2, just of like, oh, she has a lawyer case in New York and that is how they reconnect and everything. I'm sure Jamie has thoughts. I want to hear what you think.
Well, yeah, I don't think she's showing up in season 1, but like there's no way she's not coming back in some capacity. And we all want to see her with Daredevil, right? So like bring her in season 2. But it does hurt my heart that it's like she keeps getting asked, and just I also believe she does not know.
Yeah, my fear is that She-Hulk gets some sort of secret invasion treatment, just due to fear of negative reception. I don't think that that's going to happen. I know we'll see She-Hulk again. Obviously, like there's just no version of this where I would ever say I don't think we're going to see her again. But no, she's not. I can't imagine she shows up in season 1. I just can't imagine it. But I'm sure those two will cross paths again at some. Like it would be such a missed opportunity if they don't. Aaron, you have any thoughts?
It's just interesting because I mean we probably could have gotten that, but the second that you rejigger it and make it Daredevil season 4, there's the ball game. I must have shot the hot dog right then and there, you know. So hopefully for season 2, it seems like they're swinging for the fences with the second half of the episode order. So once we establish and ingratiate everything with the people, the 8 of us that haven't really been on the Daredevil train, we can move on with whatever is coming in the back half of this thing.
Yeah. So, well, that's our Marvel portion of the show. Let's switch over to the DC side. And really the DC side is talking a little bit about how we haven't really talked a lot about DC. There's a few updates we're going to get to. So what we know right now about DC Studios is that Supergirl is filming in London. Superman is in post. Peacemaker, I believe, is in post. That's coming out right after Superman hits theaters on Max. Lanterns is hard at work. And Creature Commando season 2 is being fast-tracked. What's this quote here? Jenna, did you add that?
So, yes, I did. So Dean Lorey, who is an executive producer on the show and on Harley Quinn and other DC animated stuff, told The Direct, I mean, it's still in early days, but we are actively working on breaking the season and starting to figure that out. So it's definitely moving forward. I mean, it's like they put it on a fast track and they seem to mean it. So yeah, we're in it. He also had another quote talking about like the roster. And he was like, I think the roster that you see at the end of the series will most likely carry over, because he was like, there's no world in which I don't bring in G.I. Robot in the way that we introduced him at the end of the season. So that has me content. That has me very happy. And just hearing that it's fast tracked is good, especially given the timeline with animation.
Yeah, God, streaming. I'm impatient, man. These things taking so long. And then one thing I wanted to talk about is the one project. Like, do we think there are any projects from that DC slate announcement that are not happening anymore? And to me, the two most eligible to have possibly be at least put on the back burner, the same way Armor Wars has at Marvel, would be Paradise Lost and or Waller. What do you guys think?
I think Waller's still happening. I think everything, in my mind, all of the 10 projects that they've announced are still going to come out in some capacity, in some way, shape, or form. When they announced the initial slate, they didn't necessarily give dates or a specific timeline. They just said, like, these are 10 stories we want to tell at some point. And when James has openly said that they don't move forward until they know that the story and the script is ready to go, I feel like Paradise Lost is a perfect example of it. If like that's going to be a big, very ambitious, very expensive story to tell. And I don't think they even really want to start working with HBO on production for that until they know like this is definitely something that we can get into production.
In the macro business side of things too, one does not assume that a studio, even one the size of Warner Brothers, could afford the cost of a very, very expensive Harry Potter show and a very, very expensive Amazon show and a very, very expensive Dragon show all at the same time. This is a Venn diagram.
That's a good point. It'd be interesting to see if that all, like, I think the Authority is probably still going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we added Clayface, Booster Gold. Not a lot of movement on Booster Gold. There's supposed to be a Blue Beetle animated series we've heard about. So it's going to be interesting. I would be curious to see if some of that's going to depend on Superman. Obviously, Creature Commandos I think performed decently. I don't think it was like a mainstream hit, but it was well received by everybody who watched it, from what I can tell. So only improving that. I expect some DC updates soon. Anything else on the DC front we want to talk about? I think that's pretty much it.
In my mind, no news is good news. Like, just because we're not hearing massive updates every single week or like rumors about stuff, that doesn't necessarily mean they're not working on stuff. So yeah, I'm happy.
Ryan brought up the Blue Beetle like animated thing. Has there been anything besides Zolo being like, yo, I'm kind of free now, I can do that? I
remember he talked to that hashtag show at the Saturn Awards, and I saw that quote, and he was just like, I'm ready. You know, we're doing it. But it doesn't sound like anything's been recorded or really made yet, at least from what I could tell. So we'll see. Not so very, you know, not too passionate of a DC conversation today, because there's not too much to talk about, but that's the latest we've heard. And I'm sure there will be some updates and news and all that with DC sooner than later. But first, the Odyssey dropped a first look. Let's talk about the Odyssey, shall we? Let me go ahead and pull up this image. There it is. Matt Damon is Odysseus, and Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey. Well, my fear is that I might just see Matt Damon the whole time. That said, Christopher Nolan is my favorite director, and I trust him more than anyone. So I'm hyped for this movie. I think this is going to kick ass.
I was thinking about that fact too, because initially when Matt Damon was the first person announced, before we even knew this was the Odyssey, I was like, okay, having him lead a Nolan movie, like obviously he's been in them in supporting roles, but he had to have come up with the perfect story. The more that I think about it, the more I'm like, Odysseus is just kind of an average guy. Like that is part of the story. That is part of what works well about the Odyssey as a text. And so I think having somebody like Matt Damon, if Nolan can see in him what he needs in order for the project to work, I'd rather that than like him casting a Cillian Murphy or somebody who has a more like distinct kind of persona as an actor, and that kind of taking me out of it in the process.
I do kind of agree. Matt Damon's kind of become a parody of himself. Like he's become the king of cameos. Like, oh my God, Matt Damon's in this. Of course he is. He shows up everywhere now. But I do still think like Matt Damon is a talented actor.
Mhm.
And I think that he's going to do a good job. I like Nolan. I'm not a ride or die Nolan fan, but I do like his films. And I have to say, this is probably the first time in a while I'm like legitimately hyped for this movie. I think the Odyssey is awesome. I love that he's reuniting with Elliot Page. Like, there's so many factors about this movie that has me hyped. And this photo doesn't really like add to my excitement, but like I'm so neutral on Damon that I'm like, I think he'll be fine. I don't, but I do understand that fear of just seeing Matt Damon. But I agree. I think Nolan's gonna pull something out of him.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. At the end of the day, I think it comes down to Nolan. The cast on this movie is insane, by the way. This is the IMDb casting list, which, I think this is accurate. We got Anne Hathaway, Tom Holland, Matt Damon, John Bernthal. Is Robert Pattinson in this?
Yeah, he is.
Oh my God. Charlize Theron, Zendaya. Tom Holland is in it? Oh my God. Yeah, I forget all these. Mia Goth, Elliot Page, Lupita Nyong'o, Samantha Morton, Alpha from The Walking Dead is in this. John Leguizamo, William Lee, Benny Safdie. Oh my goodness. I mean, look at Corey Hawkins. We got Corey Hawkins in a Christopher Nolan movie before explaining the PPP key card from The Walking Dead. Wow. TWD fans with me. Everyone else is like, what the fuck did you just say? This cast is insane. I can't wait for this movie. Writing
Aaron,
credit.
I need to know. I need to know Aaron's excitement level on this one.
I like the Odyssey quite a bit, and it seems really cool. And last time we had a movie that starred half of the city. It worked out pretty well in Barbie, so that's cool as well. I laughed at what was it? Is it Jay Lang in the comments said that's why he couldn't be in Dunk Kings? I know, and we're all poor for it. It's so interesting to pick this as the massive scale epic that he was going to do after Oppenheimer. It's so strange because when the casting for this was rolling out, I was like, what the heck is this movie? Why? What's all these actors? What do you mean? And then it's like, oh, it's Odyssey. All right, I guess so. Yeah, sure.
I remember there was a rumor in the before they said it was the Odyssey of oh, it's an airplane movie about World War II airplanes, and then when it came out that it was the Odyssey, people were like, how can airplanes still factor into this? Because they were just so confused. But I agree with you. Nolan has the blankest check that any director has had in a while at this point, because it's after Oppenheimer did as well as it did, he could have made literally whatever, and I feel like him picking something like the Odyssey that hasn't been modernized in this kind of way, and also just feels like a story that's perfect for him of the themes of family and hero's journey and stuff like that. This is the most quintessential story that he could have picked, I feel like.
This movie is going to be a moment. This is July 17th, 2026. Oh, I can't wait for it.
Well, speaking of favorite directors and RPATs, the Mickey 17 reviews are out. It currently has an 88% of Rotten Tomatoes. I'm hyped. Bong Joon-ho is truly one of my favorite directors. Everyone knows I love RPATs. I can't wait to see this movie. I'm jealous of my friends who have seen this movie. Let's see, what do we got here? Look at those reds. I'm not seeing any green splats.
A lot of tomatoes on Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah.
A deeply depressing comedic experience, Bong's remake of Edward Ashton's novel presents a Trump-like villain and noteworthy heroes, resulting in a farcical sci-fi adventure whose symbolism makes up for its misshapen character drama. First of all, the wording in that review, hats off to you, IGN. Goodness gracious.
Great review.
Yeah. Marshall from Inverse. Even if the plot can't contain all the bigness of this premise, the committed performers, Pattinson especially, prove they can. One thing I'll say about this, I do see a lot of positivity on this movie. I see a lot of people being like, it's not Bong Joon-ho's best. It's good. It's okay. And I'm feeling like people who are feeling that way are leaning towards positive reviews, whereas a movie we just opened this show with, when people were feeling like it's okay, it's good, they were like, it sucks. But I don't know. I believe Mickey 17 is pretty damn good. Wendy said director Bong Joon-ho's wildest and weirdest dark comedy yet takes a deeper look at capitalism, corruption, colonization, and greed. Pattinson is the perfect actor for Mickey. Final act felt drawn out and uneven. A lot of let's find a native. There's one.
Oh, there's one.
That's the BBC.
This from Hugh Montgomery at the BBC said the bad news and possibly an explanation for its delays in release is that it doesn't really know what approach it wants to take instead. All in all, it must be considered a serious disappointment from the director with a 2 out of 5 score. Well, not a good review, but all the rest of them are.
I want to say just randomly that Variety, I'll give you a free idea. You need to go get Michael B. Jordan and Robert Pattinson and record actors on actors on actors on actors with the 4 of them, with 4 different characters talking to each other. You can have that one for free. I'd watch it.
Great idea. Someone hire Aaron.
Seriously.
PR. What a great idea.
So Mickey 17 hits theaters March 7th. I'm actually quite excited for this movie. I had an opportunity to see it, but I was going to Monday Night Raw. And WWE was like, "You want to come around?" I was like, "Yeah, I can't cancel on you guys." So my wait for Mickey 17 continues, much like my wait for Freaky Tales. Did you guys see the trailer for Freaky Tales?
I did.
That looks really, Jamie. What? All right, you know what? I'm absolutely gonna get
Brandon.
Yeah, she's a little busy.
You were busy having a birthday and traveling, and today's Richard's birthday, by the way.
Yay.
Richard.
Hold on, I'm gonna pull up this trailer, and maybe if we move it around or something, we won't get a strike. I don't care. I just want to see this and pull it up here. Let me share the screen. This one has a pretty cool cast. This one, share the screen. Where is it? Right here. This looks freaking cool. I guess you won't be able. Can you hear it? Oh no, we'll definitely get a strike.
Yeah, don't do that.
Pedro Pascal, Normani, Jay Ellis, Ben Mendelsohn, Angus Cloud, and Marshawn Lynch are in this movie.
Marshawn Lynch has proven himself as a pretty good actor. I get excited now when I see his name.
And isn't this directed by the Captain Marvel directors? Which that has me. Yeah. I think they directed and wrote this. So I'm very curious what their vision is for this. And as everyone has joked, this just joins the Pedro Pascal as a very overprotective dad cinematic universe, but in a way that I think will be really fun to see.
I think that it's a reunion for them with Ben Mendelsohn. I think this looks infinitely more stylized than Captain Marvel was. So I'm excited to see what they do. It seems like they maybe got a chance to really let loose more than they did when they were working in the Marvel machine. And I suggest go watch the Freaky Tales trailer if you haven't. But yeah, is there anything else on today's docket before we get to Spider-Man? I think it's time to talk a little bit about Spider-Man. You've been warned.
Finally.
Jamie's been waiting.
Let's start right there. Jamie, you haven't had a chance. You haven't had a chance to talk about Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man yet. What do you think of this series now that the whole thing is out there?
Loved it, truly. It was so fun. It was rich. I will say the first half of the season, I wasn't loving the Lonnie story because I was like, oh, here we go. Prospect kid falling with the wrong crowd. I'm like, we've seen this a million times, but where it ended up, with them fighting together and all that, I ended up really liking the arc of it. Coleman as Norman, give it to me in live action. He's so perfect. I'm so glad they're doing something with Nico because I know we were all kind of worried. Are they just wasting one of our favorite runaways, but what they're setting up seems really cool. Everything. I just had a fun time, and I've talked about this before, but I've never really been an animated Spidey fan. Tony's a huge animated Spidey fan. And since I've met him, I've seen so much of it and so many different eras of it. And this one, I love the animation style. I would like to say I think Aunt May sounds a little bit more like she's from Boston than she's from New York, but what can you do? A little bit of a nitpick from me there. No, I was excited about the show when we saw a little bit of D23, but I think it even exceeded expectations. It's no X-Men 97, of course. Nothing can be, but let me tell you, I think it sure blows What If out of the water.
It definitely blows the most recent season of What If out of the water. We got Brandon Moore with a $10 super chat. Thank you so much. Brandon said, Give me 10 more seasons of your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, please and thank you. And please give me live action Coleman Domingo in the MCU. Coleman, just put Coleman in anything, dude. I don't care. He's great. But yeah, obviously we know multiple new seasons of your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man are on the way. That's exciting. Jenna, what'd you think of the finale?
I mean, I'll say what I said when we started talking about the show. It feels like just such a labor of love across the board, of just love and reverence for the comics and the way that comic storytelling works, and just the way to subvert expectations while still delivering what people expect out of a Spider-Man story. I also saw a tweet earlier today that kind of has reframed the show in my head in a good way, of there are a lot of narrative similarities between this season and season 1 of The Flash on the CW, down to the cameo that we get towards the end of the episode of having a legacy actor come back as a character's father. But I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing. I think that is a great way to kind of like recontextualize the story of Spider-Man while doing something completely different with a supporting cast that he doesn't normally have in the comics, and with just such a cool sense of style to it.
I mean, I'm just so happy that people seem to be understanding that the show is really good. Like, there was such a weird, to me, in slightly reactionary ways, where because this wasn't other Spider-Man shows that people really, really enjoy, that they were going to act like they weren't going to give this thing a chance. And anyone who has been really happy. Getting a couple of messages from viewers who said, you guys were really right. This really is good. The ending was amazing. I know Jeff and the team have really appreciated being bathed in the praise around this show. And I think it's really justified. It's really justified. People were like, I don't know. Here we go again. We're going to do Spider-Man Jr. again. And then no, Jeff and them know Spider-Man. They know what makes it tick. They know what makes it go. So it's just been nice to see people really appreciating it, and the promise of more episodes. Unlike my poor Spider-Man on MTV, he's going to get a second season to actually do other stuff.
Yeah. I've been talking about how much I want to talk about this finale since, before the show aired. This finale is so well. I mean, it's like Marvel went there with a bold play. They created a paradox. And I just think this show is fantastic. It understands the Spider-Man characters. It understands the world that they were trying to build there. And I love that. This is spoilers from here on out, like officially spoilers, really. Warning. We had a comment asking who played Richard, because Richard Parker showed up in one of the 300 scenes that could have been credit scenes at the end there. That was Josh Keaton, the voice of the Spectacular Spider-Man. So they're, like you said, bringing the legacy characters back in parent roles is it's fun. But obviously that's a story that they can move forward with now. And Marvel Studios was just like, well, watch this. We can tell a good Spider-Man story if we use Spider-Man.
Who would have thought?
So here's basically it cut me off. This is basically the points I wrote down from these final 2 episodes. If there's something we want to expand on, let me know. This is sort of Easter eggs and story points and stuff that I caught. I like the reveal of Peter's suit through Nico's amulet. And by the end of it, Nico was in touch with her parents. Mm-hmm. So maybe they are going to dive into some runaway stuff. Jenna, what do you think about that?
I mean, I'm all for it. I know the Runaways live action show kind of did not get its due. And if this drives more people to that and to the comics and just the story of the Runaways, I'll take it.
Yeah. I think we'll see Nico really get more in touch with herself and powers and her family and all that stuff in season 2, which is exciting. Lonnie seemingly fully embraced the 110th Street Gang in this episode, fully became Tombstone. The chemicals made him into, this super strong being. And when he embraced the 110th Street Gang, it is both heartbreaking, but also they did it in a way where you're like, huh. Obviously, I'm rooting for this kid because he's got a good heart. We've seen all season. He's trying to buy people lunch when he can't even buy himself lunch. When he throws his jacket out the window at the end, it's like, damn, that's really sad. But also, he's trying to do things in a way that seem pure and good. But can you do that in the gangster world? I don't know. What do we think about Lonnie's tragedy in going from all-star quarterback to all-star gangster?
I was so worried it was just going to immediately he's going to be fighting Peter. And it just felt like it was going down such an obvious track. And I like that now it seems like he might start working with them. And I think ultimately knowing that his character is a villain in the comics, maybe it won't end good for them down the road. But I'm glad that they're not doing that instantly. I was, like I said, I was really pleasantly surprised with how things went with him, because it was my least favorite part of the season up until the end.
Wow. I'm the opposite. I found Lonnie to be really, really interesting. I thought it would be like a cliche, like, oh, this kid's gonna get sucked into the gang world, but it ended up having a lot of heart, and I thought it was really good for that reason.
Well, exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like it felt like a cliche until the end. Like that's what made it a relief. Like because it felt like it was heading down a path that I've seen so many times in so many movies.
That's fair. Alani being the one who ended up talking Peter out of embracing Norman's speech about, which was basically encouraging to kill his enemies and not hold back. Lonnie being the one who was like, hey man, you don't have to kill them. But meanwhile, also taking that turn, I think is what landed that heart that we just talked about. We had Scorpion in his full suit. That was pretty cool. Norman, which I just talked about that. Nico learns Peter's identity. That's fun. That's, secret identities in the Marvel Universe are never meant to last. There's references to Thor 1 from the MCU, and Norman says, Thor's arrival in New Mexico. It's an obvious reference to the first Thor movie. The Chitauri invasion, that's a reference to the first Avengers movie. And I love the line where he said, aren't you all amazed? Look at what we've been able to accomplish from Norman, because it just showed how out of touch Norman is. And he just tries to take credit for all this stuff, where to some extent he is responsible for some of the advancements, or at least he's funding them. But the way the scientists are like, we didn't even do anything yet. Because he just has he's so out of touch that he's trying to take credit before something even happens. The points where you're like, maybe Norman is actually doing good stuff. Maybe Norman is decent. And then at the end, you see the reveal that he's just trying to emulate Spider-Man's powers and creation. Like, this is a villain. They got a good villain here. Anything on the Norman front, and then Norman finds the symbiote that got left over in another one of the many scenes that could have been a credit scene at the end there.
I just love the slow burn of even like the Goblin glider across the season, and just all of these ways to where if in a future season we fully get into him being the Green Goblin, it feels like they've really laid the groundwork for it working in a way that we haven't seen since the Raimi movies. And so I'm very on board with that, especially with Coleman doing it.
Yeah. Harry starts a new business, and it is called WEB, Worldwide Engineering Brigade, which, correct me if I'm wrong, that's what it's called at Avengers Campus. Right? Wasn't it the web technology on that terrible Spider-Man ride at Avengers Campus?
It's not a good ride. It's a pretty bad ride. That sounds familiar, but I couldn't confirm.
I do believe
that's what it's called in Avengers Campus.
Yeah. Okay. Good. I was like, maybe I'm crazy.
There's also like comics precedent too for Peter and his magical team of nerds solving problems in the Marvel Comics universe as well. And it's like a character group, like you see, everyone who's like really smart and under the age of 25 has been in Web at like some point. So having Cho, having someone who's a Wakandan scientist, having, other people come through who are going to be smart and help. And I hope Lonnie too, just a genius out there roaming around. You have him in there, Harry. So it'll be interesting. I laugh because I'm like, we're gonna do Parker Industries next season. Is that what we're gonna remix? Jeff gonna try and fix that.
I was prepping for the show while I watched this like a month ago, and I was prepping for the show today while I had it on, trying to get my notes together. How did Doc Ock end off? I forget.
And he's still locked up? Like,
I think so.
In this show, you mean?
Yeah, in this show.
He's in jail, and he's doing drawing his tentacles.
That's right.
He's forming his Doc Ockness.
Yes,
which was cool to see. Obviously, no one will ever beat Catherine Hahn as Doc Ock, in my humble opinion. But I really I like how classic this Doc Ock is, like a real OG Doc Ock.
Yeah, it was good stuff. So the finale, the episode 9 felt to me like it could have been a finale, and then you press play on episode 10, you're like, what is left to do here? Oh, tell Peter Parker's whole freaking origin story through a Doctor Strange portal time travel MacGuffin thing. That was nuts. Mm-hmm. So Norman is trying to emulate Spider-Man when he is also responsible for creating Spider-Man. The paradox of it all. Which came first, the spider or the egg?
I love that kind of twist so much.
Yes.
Like that's TV. That was TV. And it also, like, it's interesting because it asks a lot of time travel questions in this universe that feel different from the greater MCU's use of it. It feels, more like how they would do it in Days of Future Past than anything. There's my mom.
I agree with you, and I feel like it is also, as much as it's like TV melodrama, it's also inherently comic booky. Like, Lord knows, as you get to a certain point with comic lore, there are paradoxes that kind of compound on each other and just become a chicken or the egg, or the over and over and over again. So I'm glad we got that here, and it worked as seamlessly as it did, because it just makes the show so different than, oh, he's on a field trip and gets bit by a spider, the way that we've seen a million other times.
Jenna, for like a DC devotee, I couldn't help but notice like the similarities between like Young Justice and Invasion.
Yeah.
It's like one of my favorite weird time travel loops in all animation. I'm sure Jeff's and them have seen that too. So like having this thing be a mystery, because I'm like, where did this spider come from the entire season? Then be like, oh my God, he created himself. Dear God. Oh no. Oh Peter. No.
This the way they did this. Just if you go back and watch the first episode again, it adds interesting context to that scene where Doctor Strange arrives outside of Midtown and he's like, "No, I'm not supposed to be here," because now he just met Peter Parker a minute ago and saw him, and then he's like, "Oh, we were in a different time in a different place. Oops!" And then Doctor Strange and Norman and all of them are in a roundabout way responsible for creating Spider-Man, and the fact that this started as like Peter Parker's MCU origin story was would have been, obviously I think they would have had to change a few things, but I think it's just this is a hell of an origin story. What a way to tell, that Peter Parker gets bit by the spider story. But I also think
Assassin has a good point too in the comments. I almost forgot.
We did see Uatu.
Yeah, I was like, well, it's great. Oh God.
Yeah, the Watcher has now shown up in X-Men 97, Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, What If, and Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2.
That was so fun. So my mom loves Marvel, but you can't get her to watch an animated show, so she does not know who Uatu is. And I was watching it, and she was sitting here, and I gasped so loud that she goes, "What's wrong? Are you okay?" Because I got so excited when I saw him. I scared my mother. That was a cool thing to see. I didn't expect that.
I think it's nothing more than an Easter egg, personally.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's just a nice way for the Marvel animation team to have fun and say, our watcher's out there. Here's an Easter egg. He's watching. You know, he's you. You know. So yeah, Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. All right, it's time. 10 score.
Oh boy, I'm going first.
I can go first if you want.
Yeah, go first. Okay, let me think for a second.
All right, I'm at a 9 out of 10 flat. I think this show is really, really good. It doesn't have the emotional depth of X-Men 97, or it comes close to having that Genosha episode in terms of just wow factor storylines with this finale. This finale felt like an epilogue to the penultimate episode in a sense, but that to me doesn't really matter. It was fantastic. So I'm higher than a lot of the people in the comment section already, except Jay Lang. But I'm at a 9. I thought this was pretty fan. You know what? Yeah, I'm sticking at 9 for me.
I'm going to say a 9.2. I feel very vindicated having been the first person who said on this show and in the before times that this show would be something special. I think, like I said, it is just so lovingly put together, and it is just teaching a whole new audience what comic book style and storytelling and what like the capacity of the Marvel Universe offers to them. And it's doing something so different and so unique at the same time. And I would easily watch another 6 seasons and a movie of it right away. So 9.2.
Yeah.
Man, I probably go with a 9 here. I mean, even a hopeful idea about what this could be after all of the weird inside baseball stuff that we know about the production of these shows now wouldn't have led me to think it would be as good as it is. Like Jeff and them you really have to hang your hat on this, because we've never been we passed peak Spider-Man. Like we passed, like there are so many different books and movies and TV shows. They could include him or not. They sometimes include Nicolas Cage now. Like it's like we're here, and to make something that feels very unique. And I can honestly say I've never seen a version of Peter Parker that does that before. Is something you could be proud of in 2025.
So you said 9?
Yeah, 9.
All right, Jamie.
Mine was I was going with an 8.9. So yeah, I think it's great. I don't foresee myself like when X-Men 97 ended, like I've already watched it multiple times because I was like I loved it so much. I don't foresee myself like rewatching this until season 2. Which I will, and I'm ready for season 2. Let's go, Marvel. But I think a very loving 8.9 is high. I think we're pretty high.
That puts us at a 9.025, which rounds out to a 9 out of 10 flat for Phase Hero score of Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. I'll put it up on the big screen. There's the score. We got comments, people, a lot of thoughts in the comment section, and I love it. So we got 9.5. We got an 8.5 from John Brown. Hey, John, man, always appreciate you. Jude, an 8.8. Roscoe with an 8.8. 8.5 from Will McLean. 8.5 from Yendor 1949. Hannah Basso, 9 out of 10. Seth's Entertainment Talks, 9 out of 10. Misha with a 7. Misha hates You're from the Neighborhood Spider-Man confirmed. They refuse the 9 out of 10. Eric in the hater camp with a 7. I'm just joking, guys. Stamina all the way from London with an 8. And Jay Lang said X-Men 97 set the bar too high, too good. Media left with an 8. Bumping it up to 9 out of 10. Yendor says because the intro song gets me hyped for the episode. It is a really good intro song. I have to agree with that. So there it is, 9 out of 10 for Phase Hero. A lot of high scores from the comment section. Thank you so much for joining us today. Jamie, any last words for today's episode?
Yeah, I hope that everyone's watching Harley Quinn season 5. It's been a fun one. There's a really good like Brainiac backstory episode that really got me good. I hope that when you're going to see the new Cap for the second time, you're not taking your phone out, even though you've already seen it, because that would be very rude of you and distracting to everyone around you. Follow me, Blue Sky, Letterboxd, all that business. I hope. Hello from Florida.
Jenna Anderson.
Jamie's rant just reminded me because I told Aaron a story that I promised to tell on our Cap episode and I didn't tell. It was just a brief anecdote. When I saw Cap, the people sitting directly in front of us had their phone out when the trailer started. And I was like, oh no, are we going to have to fight these people for having their phone out? And all they did was one had an Amazon listing pulled up for ping pong paddles and showed it to the other one and was talking about that for like a solid 30 seconds. And then the Superman trailer started and they immediately put their phone away and shut up and were very respectful. And it was great. And I was like, this is the weirdest instance. It was so delightful. I do want to say,
I do think it's okay to have your phone out during the trailers because the lights are still on.
Yeah.
Like a big part of the phone thing is the light pollution. So if the lights are on, the phone can be out. That's my personal. And I'm kind of the end all be all of the rules. So
you heard it here first, folks.
I was actually in a theater in Nashville, and someone had their phone out after the credits, and it was crazy. Soon as they took their phone out, Jamie burst through the wall like the Kool-Aid Man. It's like a bat signal. Aaron, what you got?
I will say I didn't actually do my plugs.
Go ahead.
It's Jenna Lynn on social media. As always, go read some comics and go subscribe to my YouTube channel, which is at Go Read Some Comics. I recorded a video this week that I posted about Clayface and the new plot details that have come out and how people keep just comparing it to The Substance and not understanding that those two movies can be fundamentally different from each other. And I've had a really good response to that so far. So go watch that.
Man, calling The Substance Clayface is hilarious, though.
It is. It's very funny. There were like people wanting to sue. They were like, "This is grounds for a lawsuit." And I'm like, you don't even understand anything.
They're fundamentally different things.
Yes.
People on the internet continue to be interesting. All right, it's Summer Lake Hornet on all the platforms. Thank you guys for watching the Captain America 4 review we put up. Big shout out to Frankie for subbing in for Jamie. Very, very funny. Her exercise at the beginning of the episode inspired a lot of laughter among some of the people that follow me on social media. She has a new episode of Fighting Words out today with Jeff Trammell, who, helped make Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. So you can go look at that. And Phase Hero, friend of the show, Neebs, is on a couple episodes of Muslim Matchmaker. And I saw his face roll across my timeline. And I'm like, I know that, man. What in the world? So me and Ariel watched it last night. And if you've never had anybody in your family or anybody you care about on one of these reality shows or TV shows, it is a weird experience. We are rooting for Neebs in this episode like a sports team. We're like, no, it has to go perfect. He's great. Yes, Neebs is in it. He's great at it. So on Hulu, Muslim Matchmaker currency. I think it's episodes 4 and 5 are our need-centric ones. I was like, oh man, I'm absolutely pulling up.
I'm gonna have to look into that. All right, y'all. Thank you so much for hanging with us. Reminder, we are moving to Mondays starting in March. Phase Heroes live shows will be at 2 p.m. Eastern time on Mondays, and we will have live episodes after new episodes of Daredevil. That's why we are moving. Thank you for hanging with us in advance. Thank you for all the support on the Captain America content, and Daredevil is right around the corner. All I'm saying is my YouTube channel has a lot of stuff coming this weekend. A lot of stuff. I promise it's worth your while. So be subscribed and go subscribe to Jenna's channel. Go follow all 4 of us. Thank you so much in advance. Please continue to keep ordering merch on phasehero.com. The site is also now a good landing page for new episodes and stuff like that to be planted right there at the top. I teased a wrestling match in Orlando recently, and I've had people reach out to me on Twitter addressing that. I'm making my CCW debut in Nashville on March 15th. But CCW runs shows in Kissimmee and all around Florida, and I plan on working with CCW unless I just suck on March 15th and they don't want me back. But that's the plan, to work a CCW show down in Florida, so I will keep you all updated. And they also have a really big, I teased big wrestling news on Twitter. It wasn't CCW. There's something happening in my wrestling life that I'm beyond excited about, and I will have an update about that soon and all that. So play our show for your dad, play it for your cat. And we will see you on Wednesday for another live episode of Phase Hero. Bye, everyone.
You